Hi, I'm James, and this video is about the ball joints on the van. So it's the upper ball joint, the lower ball joint, and the tie rod as well. So all of those get replaced in this video. So I'll take all the old ones off, I'll whack them out with hammers and use different tools to put them back in again. So please keep watching if you want to see that. So today I'm going to be replacing the 3 ball joints on the steering knuckle. So that's where you attach the wheel to the brake disc, and that attaches to the rest of the front suspension. So we're going to be replacing the top ball joint, the one on the end of the tie rods, and then the one you can't see on here, but the one at the lower ball joint as well. So what I've done is gone for the Lemforder parts. Apparently they're the best. I'll post a link on the blog about the different types of ball joints that are available from the different manufacturers, because they're not all the same quality. Some are not as well built in certain parts of it. So have a look at the article that I linked to from the blog for a bit more information about that. But I've gone for all out Lemforder, if that's how you pronounce it. So hopefully that will give us long service life with these parts. Now, I've not seen any problems with my current front suspension in regards to the ball joint, so I'm not sure if I should be replacing them, but I'm going for preventative maintenance, so that's why I'm going to do this. So let's explain the different parts I've got and the different tools I'm going to be using. So first up is the upper ball joint, so that's this one. So that sits here at the top, and that's got 2 hex bolts and then the one at the bottom. So I've got the tools to get those off and on. And then this one is the tie rod end, so that goes on there, that screws on. And then this is the notoriously difficult lower ball joint, and we'll go into that in more detail when we get to it. But depending on which one you buy, this is the Lemforder one, as I say, some don't come with a circlip like this, so you may have to grind it down or buy a circlip that fits. And when we go to fitting it, I'll show you what that means. So yeah, what I've got here is I think I'm going to be using this quite a lot, the good old fast release penetrant, to try and get these things off. Wire brush, an angled pokey stick, so that's to get in the hex bolts, to clean those out. And then other bits, we've got all the different size sockets, the 8mm hex, and then these old tools. So we've got hammers, we're going to be hitting stuff. This is actually a brass drift we might have to use, so I don't damage anything with that one. And then a nice pry bar. When it comes to the actual ball joints themselves, I've got a new tool. So this is a nice manual press. So we go. So this was £26 off eBay. So for what you get, I was really impressed with the price actually. It's a really substantial piece of kit. It's really heavy. And the idea is to be able to press the new ball joint back in, especially the lower one. So we'll have a look at that in a bit. This is just like the VW tool you see there. So that's to pop the ball joint out, but we'll try that on the different ones. And then this is a special tool. I managed to get this from eBay, so Lithuania it came from. And it's tool 3051, and what that does, it's specifically designed for this lower ball joint, and again we'll go into details about this. And lastly, you'll be pleased to hear that I've now got some torque wrenches. Now look at these old vintage torque wrenches. These are amazing, these Bridal ones. So I've got 2 of them, different torque, different Newton meters. So yeah, there we go, that's all the tools, all the bits and things. Let's get stuck in. So I've jacked the van up on both sides, and on the axle stands, and I've put the tyres underneath just to bit of an extra safety. If anything could fall, it would just bounce on that, hopefully, and not squish me. So as part of this, I'm also going to be replacing the brake disc. As you can tell, it's really pitted and rusty. There's definitely time to replace that. But what I'll do is split the video, so you'll see a brand new brake disc being put on, but I'll do a separate video for that, just to show me fitting the different bearings and stuff like that. So the ball joints we're replacing are this one. So this is the upper ball joint, and this is the wishbone here. I'm also going to do a different video for these parts as well, so the bushings that go in there, and at the top you can see how split that is. And I've got new shock absorbers as well, so that's exciting. Okay, so there we go. We've got all the brake off, we've got the brake disc away, and the backing plate. So now we can access all the different ball joints. So the top one attached to the wishbone, the tie rod, and then the one around the back. That one there, which is the pain in the bum apparently, that one. Let's see how we get on. So the tie rod is attached with a 19mm nut underneath, and it's got a split pin that goes through, and then it screws onto the tie rod itself there. So what I'm going to do is measure that thread, so then I can set the new one in the same place. So that's the distance of the actual tie rod. It locks against there. So you can see the split pin going through. I've pulled it off on the right hand side. Is whether I can pull it through from the other side. I think this is all rusted in. Doesn't seem to be. Moving at all. That's that side off. Can we remove that bit as well? We might be able to still undo this. Okay, so it looks like I've got rid of the split pin parts on either side, so we should be able to turn this nut now. Okay, that's that free. It's now time to use the ball joint separator. So this is just a draper one I've got. And the idea is to put it around here and just put a bit of pressure on the thread there to push it upwards. Now, we're seeing quite a few videos of people actually using impact wrenches and stuff on this, and that's not really what this tool's made for. What it's for is to put pressure on, and then you whack the mount for it to pop out. By using the thread on here, you're putting so much strain on this bolt that you might damage this tool. So the best thing to do is just put a bit of pressure on so it's tight and it's pushing upwards on there, and then we're going to whack that with a hammer really hard. What's good about this tool is that you're not damaging the rubber boot on the ball joints, so you can reuse them. Otherwise, if you're using the tools that are really destructive, you might damage the boot and you might have to replace that and fill it with grease again. So that's why I'm using this. So although I'm replacing it, it's a much friendlier method to your boots. So this bolt is 19mm, so I'm going to screw it all the way down, put pressure on it, and then I'm going to hit this with a hammer, and that will pop out, hopefully, if all goes well. I've got goggles on because I don't want to damage my eyes. Didn't even need the hammer. Okay, so that's now free of the steering knuckle. So that will, because we loosened it earlier, it will just unscrew. There we go, that's that free of the tie rod and the steering knuckle. So now that's undone and taken off the tie rod, so I can just move that out of the way. It means that we can freely move the steering knuckle so we can access these bolts. So first up is the upper one. So again, we're going to clean it up, spray it. At the same time, I'm going to clean this one up and spray that one. So that's the big nut, and now you can actually see the lower ball joint properly. So you can inspect the boot, see if it's split or not, and the same with the top ones. This nut is 24mm, but I've also found that 1/2 Imperial actually fits really nicely snugly on this, so that's what I'm going to be using. Now, because it's at full lock now on this way, and I'm on the off side, so I'm going to pull this way with it. It gives us a nice tension. On the other side, you'll obviously go the other way. I'm going to pull it towards me, which is going to unscrew it. Upside down, lefty loosey. Yeah, that's that one. What I'm going to do is use my pry bar, put pressure on it, and then whack it with a hammer and see what happens. So I'm just using the spring, using upward pressure on that. That's now free. These are the two 8mm hex bolts that secure the upper ball joint into the wishbone. So it's a good idea to use something to really clean out the threads. On this side it's actually quite clean, but on the near side they're absolutely filthy and full of gunk. So I want to make sure you can actually get in all the corners of the hex, so then when you put the hex bit in, it will go and seat fully all the way down. I'm going to line up the hex. You can see that's moving. This one's moving. Okay, one down. So just to show you this one, you can see that even though it went really far down, it just stripped the inside. So the hex has gone. So what I'm going to do is use some vice grips and see if I can get a hold of it and then start moving it around. I can't get it off, so I'm going to cut it off. I've admitted defeat. Just going to be careful that I don't cut into the wishbone. I've scored it a bit with the vice grips trying to get it off, but yeah, I'm just going to cut that off because you probably can see on this one there's no thread in the wishbone. It's actually all just in the ball joint. Finally. That was a pain in the bum. It's out. The speedo cable comes into the back of the steering knuckle here. So it just runs in. Just goes into like a rubber grommet there. So this is pulling out. So there we go. So that's the end of the speedo cable there. I'm going to wrap that in cling film as well, just so it doesn't get all covered in gunk. Hey. So that's that one off. So the only thing keeping the steering knuckle on now is just the pressure that's pressed in there. So what I'm going to do is hold on to the spindle here to protect it, and keep hold of it when it comes free. I'm just going to hit that with a hammer, and it should just pop out. There we go. So the whole steering knuckle is free. So these are the points where they were attached before. So I've got this one here, the tie rod and the wishbone. So we can actually push the wishbone all the way up now. And then you can see the bushes that we've got here. So that's one. I've got one on the other side as well. And you can actually see the eccentric washers as well. So that's what sets the camber of the wheel, so the positioning that way and that way. I'm going to be replacing those in a different video. We can also see the bush at the top of the shock absorber, so that's split as well, so I'm going to have to replace that. And I actually think I'm going to replace the shock absorbers anyway, so again, probably another video for that one. But it's good to see what's under here. I've never seen this side of it before and how this all works, so it's quite interesting. The mysteries of the wishbone. There he is. No one ruining my videos. So here are our steering knuckles for both sides. So this is the off side, so the driver's side in the UK, and then this is the near side one. Now you'll notice on this one it's got two holes in the back, and this one is for the speedo cable, so that goes through here, goes through the spindle and then comes out the end. So it's really important that this rubber grommet that we have here is in place and it's all the way in. You can get new ones, it looks like this, it goes in there, because if it's not there, then water might run down the speedo cable and go all the way into your spindle, and then rust not only your dust cap but also the bearings and everything in there. So it's really important that that's in place, so make sure you've got that. So yeah, looking at these two steering knuckles, the actual steering knuckles themselves are looking really good nick. There's no problems with either of them, but the ball joints, they do move around quite freely, and I think they were supposed to be much stiffer than that, so it's probably time that these were replaced. I think it's in the up and down plane is where you'll see most movement, but it's hard to tell when these are off the van, I think. But we're replacing these anyway, so that's fine. So looking at the other end of these, of the ball joints, you'll see that there is a circlip that goes all the way around. So we need to prise that off first before you can knock this out that way. So I've seen people just hitting it with a big hammer when it's in a vise, so we might try that method, but first I'm going to try using the press tool that I have to see if we can get it out, do it using the press, a much more gentle method of doing it. And you'll see the special tool that I've got fits over this, and the reason for that is you can see that there's so many things in the way for you to press the ball joint in straight against the different parts, so that's why it's like a half circle. But we'll have a look at that when we're putting it in and out, just so I can show you it in place on there. So yeah, let's get this off. The idea behind the special tool is that this clearance here will go around where the ball joint goes into the mount, so that should sit around there like that, so it's not touching the ball joint, and it will allow you to do a straight pressing out all the way through, so you can just press it out using the correct plates on either side. Now I've tried it with the near side one, and using a manual press, there's not really enough clearance for me to get this fully on and then put a plate in there and have the force necessary to actually push this out. So what I did was whack it out with a hammer. On the bottom of the ball joint, it goes all the way around, is a circlip, so you can see it opens up there. Now, as I was saying at the start of the video, with the ones you get, the new ones you get, the new ball joint comes with different types of circlip that, because this is a circle all the way around here, it actually needs grinding away because there's not enough clearance for it to fit all the way around on the steering knuckle here. So depending on which way you get, you might have to grind it down, but if you can, try and get these type of circlips. You can buy them separately as well if you need to. Yeah, that's the circlip off. There it is. So I caught them out a couple of times with a hammer, so a couple of dents there, but it's not affected the inner part there, so the new ball joint should fit in quite nicely. So here's the 6 ball joints removed from the van. You'll see on the tie rods I had to cut off this one. This was on the passenger side. That nut would not come off, so I had to cut that one off. When I move these, it's hard for me to explain this and hard for you to tell obviously on a video, but when you're moving them you can actually feel it. It's hard to describe on a video when you have no touch, but when I'm moving it, actually you can feel it like catching. It's not a smooth movement, you can see it like stops and starts. So it was time to replace these. When you compare them to the new ones, that's what these look like. So obviously exactly the same, but nice and fresh. The boot will press down when we install it, or move down like that, so it'll be the same. When we move these, really nice smooth action all the way around, so completely different to what those ones were. There you go, that's the offside one, and you know, very easy to twist around, lots of play in it. So next we've got the upper ball joints, and these ones do not want to move at all. I cannot move them with my hand, they are just jammed solid, so definitely time for these to be replaced. And you'll see here, that's the bolt that was causing us all the trouble. It would not come out, and even now it's just, you know, completely rusted in there, so there's no chance that was going to come out no matter what I did. But you will also see I actually caught the boot when I was trying to get it off, but when we look at the boot, where was it, on this side, there is actually a split appearing, so it was time to be replaced, because that would have split in no time at all, and all the stuff inside would have come out. And it was the same on this one as well. You can see, oh there we go, so when we pinch it you can see that the boot is starting to split. So it was time for definitely these ones to be replaced. And also just to compare, this is a new one, obviously the same, and again the boot will pull down when we install it. This one, free movement, and it is stiff, but free movement all the way around at all different directions. And then lastly, well, these ones that we had to hit off. Obviously you can't really test the movement now because we've hit them so much. It's probably deformed the inside of these, so it's not really a good test. But again, it was time for these to be replaced. These boots are on the way out, and I could tell from the movement it's not a smooth one. This is when it was before I hit them. I was testing them. The new Lemforder ones here, so that's just to compare them for you. Absolutely same design, same measurements and everything, so should be a nice fit, this one. And this one moves again nice and stiff but sturdy and smooth at the same time, so should be really good. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is clean up the steering knuckles, give them a good paint so they're nice and fresh, and then we can start installing the new ball joints in. I'm now going to clean up the surfaces on these steering knuckles, so get rid of all this rust and anything that's built up on there. What I've done is covered the spindles in masking tape so they don't get affected at all, and I've also bunged up the speedo cable hole, so that's on the near side. So here's the 3051 special tool, and the reason it's needed is of clearance issues. So the way this steering knuckle is designed, to be able to press in a ball joint straight in, it needs to have this cutout on this side. And there's two ways it works. One is when you're pushing out a ball joint. Now we whacked it out with a hammer, but if you wanted to keep the ball joint, it sits within that slip, so you're able to put it over that. This sits like that on there, and then you're able to push upwards and pull out the ball joint flat. You can press it out flat. The ball joint itself has got a cutout in it, so that needs to go on that side. So it's already trying to slip in, so we need to align it so it goes straight. And then we're going to press down, so this smaller edge is going to go on the lip, and we're going to press straight down using my manual press. And I've got a metal plate to go flat on the top. Then I'm going to use the press to squish this down. So that should work in theory. So using the tool and the metal plate, what I want to be able to do is use the press to squeeze it through. But as you can see, the press is too small to fit over all of these things at the same time. So I'm a bit stuck really about what I can do. I'll need to either get a bigger press, take it somewhere else, or find a different way of doing it. So my press is too small to use the 3051 special tool. So what I'm going to try and do is modify what we currently have that came with the tool to see if that will work. So when I'm pressing this in, that's going to go in there, slot in. Now one of the rings that I've got fits over it, so that's got enough clearance on all sides and including here, so it just goes underneath that, so that is the perfect size. This will be able to slot over the top, but I'll need to cut this part down, so I'm going to have to cut a slice off that to fit over there, and that'll allow me to run that way down and hopefully press it in. The ball joint goes past the edge, so that edge that we're pressing against, it actually extends further than that, so it means that whatever's on the bottom, I'm going to have essentially something else to sit against those edges, but there's only one of these in the pack, so I'll have to see if I've got anything else that can replicate that or the same kind of diameter. So there's the cut. It's about the same size as the 3051 tool, which is good, and then that will nicely sit on, go through the ball joint and sit on there. So that's the top side done. I need to find something for the bottom to sit against those flat edges. So this piece is too long, but it does fit in against this inner lip here, so that's where the circlip goes, and I can put that in there, so it's a nice flat and straight point there. It's too long for me to fit on all of this as well as all that, so I think I need to cut this down, but the great thing is that it fits there and it doesn't foul the ball joint itself, so there's enough room for it to go through. So I've cut this one down, so it's now that long, and it fits so in that space there, and doesn't foul the ball joint, so we should be able to fit this bit on and then press it. So let's give it a go. So it's gone all the way in. There we go, so the ball joint's in. It's flat all the way around, so it's gone in straight, which I'm happy with. And you can see it's not catching on anything, that straight edge that's down there. On the other side where the circlip goes in, so that groove in there, so that's come through enough. Yeah, happy with that, it's great. The Lemforda ball joints come with a circlip, which is doesn't need filing down, so there's enough room to fit it in the space on the steel knuckle. So they just go in and clip on. There we go. That's the lower ball joint fitted. Beautiful. The side with the speedo cable has this rubber bung, and that's to seal the speedo cable as it goes through. It's recommended in the manual to replace that when you're taking it out. So I've got a new one of them. So I'm just going to pull that one out and then tap this one in. There's an 11mm slot on here, so when I'm tightening down the nut, 27mm nut, it'll keep it in position, so I can adjust that to wherever I need that to be. Just want to angle it like that for a start. When it starts to catch, I can use the torque wrench on it to set the right torque, and it's 110 Newton meters. There we go, that one's in position now. Nice and smooth. I'm now putting the speedo cable back in the hole. So it's coming out the other side now. Next is the tie rods. I'm going to put those back on and then do the top one. There's no split pin on the new ones, so it's got a locking nut instead. It's 18mm this one. So it's starting to spin, so what I'm going to do is wait till I've got the rest of the ball joints in place. So then I can put a bit more pressure on this to stop it spinning. So the top ball joint has an 11mm slot, just like the lower ball joint, so I can hold that in place when I'm tightening the nut up. So the nut is 24mm, and that's going to go in there. So this one comes with a washer as well. And this is a lock-in nut. And this needs torquing up to 110 Newton meters. So that's the bottom ball joint, the tie rod, and then the upper one in position. So I'll just need to attach that to the upper wishbone now. So it's an 8mm hex on these ones. And I need tightening up to 60 Newton meters. The ball joint is spinning in there, so I can't tighten the nut up. So I'm going to clamp down on the top of here, and it will put enough pressure on to then allow me to tighten that up. We just need to tighten that up to 30 Newton meters. There we go. So I've just noticed the boot is split on this side, so I'm going to have to replace that, annoyingly. So I've got a little bit of a bonus section for you, and this is about setting the toe, just to give it a rough setting before I actually take it for proper alignment. So I've used a stick, and it's got a screw in the end, and you can screw this in and out to get the right length. Now, this technique I learnt from CovKid on the Club 1890 forum, so thanks Ralph for this tip. It works, and I'll just show you that in this next section. But if you want to get a rough setting without having to have wire down the side of your van and do all of that, this seems to work really well. So I've marked at the front and back, so there's one there, mark there, and then there's a mark at the back there. And I've done them the same height on the front, so on both sides of the van. So what I'm going to do is use this, so you put the screw against the dot. I do it on the other side as well. On the far side, both screws are touching the inner lip, and then on the inner edge, there's still a bit of space, so it's not touching there. So that means at the moment there's a bigger gap between the front of the wheels than the back, which means I've got a toe out at the moment. And so what I need this to be is the opposite way around. So I need to bring the front in and then the back out. So that means adjusting the tie rods. So I'm going to adjust both sides, and then that'll, I've got to bring the front in slightly, which is pretty straightforward, he says. I've just centered the steering wheel, and then that little nib there lines up with that, which means it's in the center. Just loosening the 22mm locking nut. I'm going to screw both sides in 2 turns and then remeasure with the stick. Two. Okay. It's now moved in on this side because there's no space for it to go in. On the rear side is probably about 4mm. So I'm going to back it out half on each side and see if that gives us what we need. Okay, that's the front. So so both screws are touching the front now. I'm going to go to the back. Still a bit too much, I think. Okay, that's the front. That's the back. So we've got slight toe in there. I think that'll be fine. So there you go. It turns out you don't need the special tool to do any of the ball joints. I thought you did, you don't. You can just use a modified manual press, like I did, or just take it to, you know, your local garage to press it in for you, and then just, you know, you whack the old ones out with a hammer. That seemed to work really well. You know, you don't need anything. You don't need to be gentle with these things. But yeah, really interesting doing all those. I think that I probably could have got away with not replacing the lower ball joints. I think they were actually okay, so I feel a bit bad for removing those, but at least I've got the new ones in, and you know, it's preventative maintenance that I'm going for here. The lower ball joints and the tie rods, they're still made in Germany by Lemforder, so the quality of those is really good. The upper ball joint, some people have had issues with the quality of those because those ones by Lemforder are made in China. Now, on my website, I'll put a link to the article I mentioned earlier on, and that's done like a cross section of the different ball joints available and the different manufacturers, and it just shows you the quality difference between them all. So I recommend having a look at that, because this will change over time. There's going to be a new manufacturer that's going to have the better one. So at the moment, the Lemforders seem okay, but maybe there's a better one that comes out. But yeah, check that out. But the other ones that seem okay, I think the tie rods definitely needed replacing. They were quite loose, but it feels amazing now. It's so silky smooth when I'm turning the wheel and going around corners. I didn't realise how much drag there was on it from the old ball joints, but now it's just, I could just use my one finger to turn the wheel. Dead easy. I don't need power steering. So yeah, there you go. I think anything else I want to say? What do I want to say? Oh yeah, that was my question for you. And it's about copper grease. So I didn't use any, as you noticed, because I don't intend to take these off again anytime soon anyway. But some people use copper grease on their threads. So let me know your thoughts on that. My question was around, by using stuff like that, does it affect the torque settings? I don't know. You let me know, please, if you have any idea of that. But yeah, that's it. All done. My other videos are around the brakes, the wheel bearings, and I've also done the upper wishbone bushing as well. And I've also done the shock absorbers as well. So check out the videos for those. Let me know your thoughts. And yeah, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.